Howdy! Howdy and welcome to Bluebonnet Crafters. My name is Gabi and today I'm very excited because I would like to introduce you to our new hexagon pin loom. You see it right here and you can see in the title we are going to introduce Turtle Loom Fine Set. Now, what is this all about? Let me just quickly show you our original turtle loom right here. Many of you are familiar with this one, and a lot of people have asked, can you make one where the nails or the pins are a little bit closer together so that we can weave thinner yarn like sock yarn? And the answer is yes, we can. And this is what our uh, fine set loom is all about. So if I hold those two next to each other, you see that there's a bunch of more nails or pins right here on each side. And you will also see that if I hold these two next to each other, that the original loom has color-coded pins and the fine set doesn't. Instead, the fine set, and we had to do this because the pins are of course thinner and they are closer together, so we had to find different pins to accommodate for that. All right, and so instead of the color coding, it's probably the most significant difference is that instead of the color coding, you see X's and O's engraved into the wood. So the white nails are X and the black nails are O's. And that, I will tell you, is the only difference between the original and the fine set. Well, the only is a little bit cheating because there are a whole bunch of other things in the background that go on. But to you, that's the only difference because you will be able to weave on the fine set exactly the same way you weave on the original. Let me just quickly show you this. And I'm just grabbing some sock yarn here. And this was what launched the whole idea. A lot of people said, can I use sock yarn? And the answer was, okay, you can use sock yarn, but the fabric that you will get will be very lacy. But I'm not the only one. A lot of people do stuff with sock yarn. So, and of course, a little bit left over. What do you do with it? And stash sock yarn. So the idea is to have a pin loom that actually allows you to create a regular fabric on a pin loom, and I'll show you some examples right here. So this is one of the examples, and you can see this actually is not lacy. If I look, you can see a little bit through it, but I have to stretch it. This is a good fabric. If you put this if you use this as a piece of garment, for example, this definitely counts as a regular fabric. Okay, and that's what we're going to create, and that was the purpose, or is the purpose, of the fine set loom. I have started here. I just want to quickly show you, instead of the original loom where you start on the white nails with your weaving, on the fine set you start on the X's, X to X, all right? And then from there it is exactly the same thing as what you have done before. Let me just put this down. So you go from the X to the X, go clockwise, go to the first pin on the left of the top, start weaving, and pull it down to the first, to the right bottom, go over and up again, always clockwise, like you already do around the next top level loom right here. So I will not show the complete weaving of the whole hexagon, because you can just use the other videos online to if you are new to turtle looms. If you already have a turtle loom, there is absolutely nothing new or different to learn from what you already know. So just start weaving, okay? The only thing that you as the weaver need to think of is that instead of the white nails, you have the X's, and instead of the black nails, you have the O's on both sides, okay? This is also described in I have updated the instructions booklet right here, and there is a whole page with information on what's new and different about the fine set looms. You see the two looms here next to each other, and the pins are color coded, and here they are marked. You start weaving at the white pins on the original, start weaving at the X, and then you switch to back and forth weaving after the black corner pins on the original, and you switch to back and forth weaving after the O corner pins on the new fine set. You will, on the new fine set, you will use 7.7 yards of fingering weight yarn. You know, the very typical is, of course, sock yarn. Everybody talks about sock yarn, but in America it's weight, yarn weight 1 or 2. There are some exceptions to it, but that's pretty much what you can go for. So sock yarn, I'm using here paint box, and I'll show you a few examples in a minute here. So this is the Love Knitting paint box yarn. I'm not sure if you can see this here. Yarn weight 1, called super fine, or fingering, or sock yarn. Sometimes it's also referred to as baby yarn. You will need 7.7 yards. The original loom used 6 yards, so you need a little bit more because you're, of course, going more back and forth. And so if you want to be on the safe side, 8 yards will be fine. And what you will do is, when you switch from the continuous strand going around, you have to wrap 7.5 times. Let me show you this properly. So of course I haven't woven the whole thing, but you go around 7.5 times, okay? And that gives you enough to weave, to fill in the center section here. I know this is all very fast, but I'm trying to keep it short here because there is really nothing different, or there's really, the weaving itself is absolutely identical whether you weave on any of the other of the original or worsted weight looms or the fine set. So I would prefer to show you a few other things like yarns that you can use. Again, there is a brief overview if you're already familiar with turtle looms. There is in the updated instructions booklet, there is one little overview that shows you the differences. And if you are completely new to it, work through the instructions booklet or watch the videos online on YouTube to get started. The tools are very similar for the fine set. We are using the same 7-inch needle that we also use for the original loom. And we are using a crochet hook. The crochet hook is a thinner one. Let's see. Yeah, here's the one that ships with the original loom, and that's a 4mm. For the for the fine set, we are using a thinner crochet hook, which is 2.5 millimeters thick, to ensure that you can still get between the pins. Okay, when you go the back and forth, we want to make sure, oops, that you can still go between the pins for ease of weaving. All right, so the packing has not changed because that's just part of the regular weaving method. And we also have, if you prefer, instead of the crochet hook and the weaving needle, this is a thinner locker hook. All right. So again, this is 2.5 or 275mm locker hook, again for the same, with the same idea that you can still get between the pins when you weave back and forth. All right. Okay. If we need more information on this, please contact me. But for now, I really, really, really would like to show you a few things or a few yarns that you can use with the new fine set loom. Let me just move this aside here because I think this will get crowded. Initially, I was thinking of calling it a sock loom, but that, of course, would not have really been appropriate because you can't weave socks on it. You still weave hexagons, but you can use sock yarn. Let me see. So fine set is a better terminology here. Let me just introduce you to a few yarns. And I have done a lot of sampling. Can we please zoom out? Thank you. And let's just take a look. I have done a lot of sampling because there are so many sock yarns on the market, and it's really difficult to predict what those sock yarns, the patterns that these sock yarns will provide when you weave them. And there was actually Benjamin from Schacht recently had a really cool blog where he was talking about how different yarns act when you knit them, when you weave them, and when you pin loom weave them. And this is so, so, so true. So I just want to show you a few examples here and then encourage you to go and explore. So this is an introduction in some yarns that you can weave. The list is not complete, there's just no way, but I want to give you a few examples to get started. So here is first paint box from Love Knitting. This is 75% wool superwash, weight fine, and 25% polyamide. So typical sock yarn. And when you weave it, let me just see, I have some samples here. So this is they call it pixel lavender field, and when you weave that on the new fine set loom, this is what you get. Okay, hope you can see this. So the paint box pixel, and probably a lot of other yarns that look similar to this, create something like this. Then there is a paint box zebra, and this, if you knit it, it comes out with little stripes. When you weave it, you get something like this. Take a look. So zebra, paint box zebra, gives you these random stripes of different thickness. Then here we have paint box stripes, which is a long color run yarn. Let me see if I can show you this here. So it's a long run or long run changes, and I only have a sample here of the lighter one that I started using, and you see it's a tonal, in this case light lavender, which of course if you would weave on this outer side it would be darker lavender. Okay, so this is what you get when you do stripes. And last not least, here is a paint box Fair Isle, and Fair Isle is has a lot of different effects. So I actually wove several hexagons here, and I'll just show you those. So this is the Fair Isle here, and you get a hexagon like this, and then the next one may look like this, and the next one may look like this, and the next one may look like this, and the next one I'm sure will look even different than of all the others that I have shown you. So I wanted to show you this because these are things like this is all the same sock yarn, but right now it's really actually difficult to get just a solid colored sock yarn because those stripes are so popular. And so this one is again a Pixel, Zebra, Long Run Stripes, and Fair Isle, so that you get an idea of what to expect when you weave certain yarns. Let me take another look. Oh, here, this is actually my favorite uh, new finding. I did my first trunk show recently, and I met Becky from Crafting My Chaos, and she does a whole bunch of really cool and super soft sock yarns. So and she has those different runs as well. So here is one example where you get a turquoise. Let me see if I can show you this. And the next one looks like this, and the next one looks red, and the next one looks brown, and then there's a brown with a turquoise, and a turquoise with a yellow, and a red with a brown and a yellow stripe, and a brown with a beige, and so forth. So really interesting. Now the reason why I want to show you this is if you can just work off the skein and then make a beautiful patchwork blanket, for example. And you could do something like I have posted a new baby blanket where you start in the center and then you just work your way around and around and around. And this yarn is absolutely perfect for that purpose. Take a look at just those few hexagons here as they come off the skein, and a beautiful patchwork with very vibrant colors that you get. Okay, so this is one, and then oh yeah, here's a really funky one. This is a long striped yarn, and with it's black with very bright supporting colors, and so here you have black with yellow, and here's actually the next one came out yellow with green, and then here's one purple with black. So really funky. And this one, if you look at that, let me put those out here. If you put these next to each other, take a look. Isn't that, oh, that would make a perfect scarf, for example. So this is actually, if you look at the color scheme here, this looks has quite a lot of geometry. So if you like geometry, this might make a very pretty scarf. Last not least, here is a micro stripe version of Crafting My Chaos sock yarn, and this is a black with yellow, orange, and green. And just take a look at what an interesting fabric this will create when you put them together. So I'm very much looking forward uh, to this project. All right, I think this is sufficient. So anyway, if you have sock yarn, I can highly recommend that you just go ahead and sample, because that's probably the best thing you can do to find out what you get. Let me take a look. Just want to show you a few more yarns that I have sampled that are big winners. Here is one from Pearl Soho. It's called Linen Quill, and it creates beautiful natural fabric with linen in it. And here's another one from Pearl Soho, which is 100% silk. And this one is the cattail silk. Not sure if you can see this cattail silk. Beautiful thinner yarn. The reason why I'm showing you this is like you may consider going a little bit upscale and using some of the finer upscale yarn. So you can weave, this is the message, you can weave silk on the fine set, and it creates a beautiful fabric with a good draft that's actually, you can actually do something with it. And again, this is the, I just want to show you, this is called Linen Quill. It's 50% Highland wool, 35% alpaca, and 15% linen. And you can see the linen just peek out a little bit here and create, add to the pattern. So these are two of my new favorites here. Then let's see what we have. Here is some knit picks. I know that a lot of people really like knit picks, and this is the Hawthorne fingering yarn, speckle, graffiti speckle. I think by now this is actually discontinued, but the Hawthorne yarn is definitely still going, and the drape, the weaving, just look at the beautiful fabric that it creates. So anything Hawthorne from Knit Picks, highly recommended. Here's another interesting one from Knit Picks. It's another Hawthorne, and they just call it Specimen. And they have this yarn. It's pretty much a micro stripe yarn. And right now I think they only have it in black with colors, and this is like prism colors. It looks beautiful, or white with the same prism colors. But again, the Hawthorne is really, it creates a beautiful fabric with vibrant colors. I really like that. Let me just take a look. Here are a few Berroco yarns. This is Berroco sock, a comfort sock, and I've chosen that because this is a non-wool option for people who are allergic to wool or don't want to do anything natural. So this is a great option. Berroco sock or comfort sock would be a great option. You see, this is why I zoomed up, because here is a new one. This is Berroco Pixel, and it creates this beautiful tweed effect. When you knit it, it actually has little dots in it, but when you weave it, it shows this beautiful tweed effect. It's a little bit on the thick side, so you get a dense fabric, but it's absolutely weavable. So that's another option. This is probably a little bit on the thicker end. So this is also not, let me see, this is, I think it's actually listed as, yeah, it's listed as weight 3 light worsted. And this is something that I want to point out here at this point. It is so important that you swatch, okay? I can tell you that most of the yarns that I've sampled is weight 1 or weight 2, but I had a few exceptions, like this pixel yarn, which is weight 3, and you can see it here if you look at the yarn. It's actually not that thick. It's fuzzy, and it will fluff up. So, and it will create, when you weave it, it will create a dense fabric. but it's weavable. So swatch before you commit to something big. There is one more yarn from Berroco that just came out. It's the Berroco Sky that just came out this fall. And I wanted to show you that because it just absolutely weaves beautifully. And this is a weight 2 fine, okay? And it weaves beautifully. It has a little denser fabric than a weight 1, but the drape is just absolutely beautiful, and I love the shine of this yarn. So this is definitely a high contender for a project in the near future. So this much about Berroco. And here I have 2 yarns from the Lang company, or Lang because they are Swiss. Millicolori Baby, and it's a merino fine superwash, and with color changes. So when I wove my sample, it came out red. So here is a single twist thin yarn that in color runs that weaves very well on the fine set. Lang Millicolori Baby. All right, last not least, here is Lang Jawohl, which is one of the more traditional sock yarns, and finally one in a solid color, so in a beautiful powdered rose. And so I'm not sure if you can see this here, but this weaves up beautifully with a nice drape and makes a good fabric. Okay, so let me see what else I have here. I have one yarn that I just found in a local yarn store, which is Katya Sunset. And it was curious because it is listed as weight 4, which is worsted weight, but it looked much thinner when you actually look at the strand. Um, it's a cotton, so something like that. The difference here is it has beads in it, okay, these little beads. So, and when we wove it, it weaves up beautifully. So that's probably the most extreme example to show that you can't really go by whatever they say the weight is supposed to be. This one weaves up beautifully, and I'm not sure if you can see this, but it has those little beads in it that weave in automatically randomly, which creates a really wintry, beautiful little fabric here. Okay, so this is called Katya Sunset, Katya from Spain. All right, that's more a curiosity thing. Last not least, oh, here's one more. And I'm not taking this out because it disassembles very quickly. This is Louet Euroflex. Okay, I always wanted to work with Euroflex. This is, even for knitters, a little bit more challenging. It is weavable, but it is because it doesn't bend very well. I would not want to weave like 200 of those, okay? So it is doable, it looks beautiful, it has this nice sheen that's typical to flax or linen. It is doable. I would not recommend it to do a whole garment out of it, but you could do something like for a pretty embroidery or coasters or something like that. It's something to consider. So let's say Euroflex Sport. Last not least, I want to show you, actually, I should have probably shown this in the beginning. This is I was looking for a cotton yarn, and the crochet thread, I think, is a little bit too thin. It can be done, but I was looking for something where I actually get a fabric. And I think here is an example. It's called Patterns Grace. This one is again listed as weight 3, but it weaves up beautifully um, on the fine set looms. And what I wanted to show you here is that the the difference. So this is the Patterns Grace on the fine set, and you get something like this. And then this is the sugar and cream that you can use on the original loom, and this is what you get right here. So, and I hope you can see this, the difference that, you know, the fine difference here, and then the original here. So this is what you have been weaving so far. This is the same size on the fine set loom. And I'm highlighting the same size because what you can do in your designs, you can combine the original and the fine set. So you can use patterns or yarns if you want to make a crazy quilt. Just use up your stash and use the original and the one they cover up. They are exactly the same size, if you can see this, so they match perfectly. So you can combine them both. All right, let me take a look at my little list here. There's one yarn that I don't have to show here right now, which is the shawl in a ball, which is also very interesting. You can weave the shawl in a ball on the original, and it makes a nice puffy, a little bit lacy, but still dense enough to call it fabric. But you can also weave that same yarn on the fine set and get a relatively dense, fuzzy example. So that's something to try out. Last but not least, I want to show you few ideas. So this is, I think this will show you already, this is like, it's a vast. Go and try out. Everything weight 1 and weight 2 are designed for, or should be able to, you should be able to use them on the fine set. Always make a sample. I have shown you a few examples where there were surprises, but other than that, weight 1 and weight 2, that's what the fine set is designed for. You have seen a few things where you can use variegated yarns in different ways, and pixel yarns, so different types of yarns, speckles with beads, a long collar run. You have seen a few high-end yarns with linen. You can weave silk, all right? And here's the sky once more. But I also want to, so this is like, go through your stash and sample, try it out. But I also want to show you, for the giggles, one of my test weavers is living in-house. It's my daughter. And she, once we had the fine set loom finalized, she really went to work and tried out a few things, and I will just, she's making a crazy quilt, and so these are just some of the ones that she made. I just grabbed a stack of hers, and I just want to quickly flip through this. Because you're using finer yarns, you can play more with patterns. Okay, so here is, for example, and I'll just go through this very quickly, the houndstooth. Oh yeah, here is embroidery. And there's more embroidery and more a combination of colors and embroidery. And yeah, embroidery. Oh yeah, and cactus. So she went, hey, but here, look at those combined twills and colors. And this is just a plain, more twills, a little bit overshot, playing with colors. That's a plain one. twills, colors, overshot. And so trying different yarns. This one is a cotton. Oh yeah, this is by the way the cotton cotton bonbons that we used for the weave and stitch along this summer. This is, by the way, the time when she worked on all of those. And I'm not sure if you can see this, but here, so a whole vast array of new possibilities are coming up with those finer yarns, where you can use this to use the same space. So just a few more here. Okay, so just to give you an idea, many more opportunities for trying out patterns, and then you can put all of those. So this is like, I hope she'll get to that soon, but then you can put those together into a crazy quilt blanket, and it's just beautiful. The other thing is, if you are a sock knitter, I'm pretty sure you have leftovers. All it takes is a little bit less than 8 yards to weave one of those hexagons. So go for it. It's a wonderful way to use up your stash leftovers. Nothing goes to waste. All right, let me just quickly move this aside, because if you decide you want to get one of those fine set looms, I'm pretty sure that you want to get started right away, and probably not just want to sample, but also want to make a project. And I want to show you a quick project here. Let's just put this all aside, so that you, when you get the loom, you can get started right away. Can we zoom in, please? Thank you. All right, and I have a project suggestion here for the paint box socks yarn from Love Knitting. And what I would like to suggest is a lavender puff and a little storage pouch to put the lavender puffs into, like this. Okay, this makes a great gift, particularly now that the holidays are coming up. And you can even add a soap bar to it. And here's our lavender. All right, let me just quickly show you what to do. Very simple. Each of those puffs is just 2 hexagons, and these are actually 2 hexagons from the long striped paint box socks yarn. Okay, so you can see here it's a little bit darker, and you get all these tonal, very pretty effects. And then all you need, I have here, this one is with the paint box zebra. So weave any 2 hexagons, and then you sew the sides together. You don't have to worry about turning them inside out, because the you know, if you just whip stitch, and whip stitch is really all it takes, if you just whip stitch around, it looks just very nice. So make any 2 hexagons, then sew them together. Then take any type of stuffing, just a handful. And I have some lavender here, and there is a saying, or there was a song a few years ago, you can't spell Texas without HEB. HEB is a big grocery chain here in Texas, and what I do is I buy the lavender flowers in their organic foods department. It may not be the fanciest, but it's definitely excellent for the purpose here. So just take a little fluff right this, like a handful, and then you just pour some about a tablespoon of lavender into the center, like this, all right? And then you just cover it up like this, so that the lavender is in the center, and then you put it inside the hexagon, and then you just close it, and that's all there is to it. Okay, so then you get something like this. So it's a hexagon lavender puff, perfect to have in your pocket or in your dresser. If you winterize coats, put one of them into your coat pocket. Put one under your pillow. A lot of people like the lavender smell at night under the pillow. And if it doesn't smell that much anymore, just squish it a little bit. And that breaks up the lavender, and you can, enjoy the fresh scent from that. Okay? There's the little pouch, and both patterns for the hexagon lavender puffs and for the pouch are on Ravelry, and you may recognize this. Last year I made a pattern with the eye of the tiger little sachet in yellow and black, and this is exactly the same pattern. So the thing that I want to point out here is that a lot of the pattern that are available for the original loom can now be made with thinner yarn on the fine set. Okay, so this little pouch is 6 hexagons, and you can find the instructions on how to assemble it on Ravelry. It's pretty much, it's a little bit hard to see because it blends in. You can barely even see the seams. Again, this is all whip stitch. There's nothing special to it. So 3 hexagons around here at the bottom, and then another row of hexagons here. I flipped the hexagons tops over, which looks a little bit leafy. I really think this looks really cute for the lavender. And then you crochet a string. You can also make a rope by just crochet it, that you pull through those 3 flipped over hexagons so that you can close it like this. Okay, and here's your pouch. Looks pretty. You can fit about 3 of those hexa puffs, lavender hexa puffs into it. All right, which makes a beautiful gift if you're invited to a friend or so. Just bring them something. Or you can put in a piece of soap, either just the soap or a soap and a hexi puff to make a present. Okay, so this makes a beautiful present. And later on, I would actually like to encourage you to use this as a soap sachet. So just put the soap in here and close it, and use this like a washcloth. I know it's sock yarn, it's wool, but if you try it out, it feels really good on your skin. Okay, probably will not last as long as cotton, but it's washable. And of course, if you use it, it's washed right there. But I think it feels really good on your skin, and let it last as long as it wants to, and enjoy it as long as as you want to. So beautiful hostess present, with the soap in it, and or the lavender puffs. And it's a very quick way to get started. So when you get your loom, just make 2 hexagons, sew them together, and make a lavender puff. Or make 6 hexagons and make this little sachet. And then after that, you can think about, going big and making scarves and what have you. Again, the message here is that you can use a lot of the patterns that are already available for the original loom. You can use the same patterns or many of the same patterns for the fine set loom. All right, I think that concludes our introduction. And if you are interested in trying out the loom, you can find it here on our Etsy store at Bluebonnet Crafters. So get the loom and the tools and the instructions booklet as shown here, or you can choose if you prefer to work with locker hook, you can get the locker hook. My tools got buried, so here is the crochet hook and the 7-inch needle, which is the default, or you can choose the locker hook and you get the packing comb, and of course the updated instructions booklet that has everything you need to get started. Okay, so I will get this completely into the view here. Let's see if I can move this over a little bit. Here we go. All right, so all you need, add a little bit yarn. Any sock yarn, weight 1 or 2 will do, and then you can get started and make a lavender puff or a little sachet or any of the many other projects that are already out there, or design your own. All right, I hope you enjoyed this brief introduction and that you're now ready to try out the find set. Enjoy, and let's stay in touch on Ravelry and on Facebook. Contact me anytime if you have any questions, and I wish you all happy weaving. Thank you. Auf Wiedersehen.